One word to describe the New York Mets after they faltered in their latest series in Pittsburgh against the Pirates, getting curb stomped for a second consecutive night where the Mets have allowed 18 runs in a 24-hour span against arguably the worst offense in Major League Baseball, which has now led us to all the same reaction. This is absolutely pathetic. Mets fans, we have a rant session, a vent session, a lot to break down in our latest post-game show, because I gotta be honest, I'm pissed the hell off. I'm beyond. I don't even know how to put into proper words my frustration level right now with this Mets team, because on one hand, you say to yourself, this team's well above 500. They're just out first there in the NL East. There's a lot of things to be happy about, but at the same time, the Mets have been so unbelievably horrendous with their baseball for the past 2 weeks plus. They have now dropped 12 of their past 15 games. 12 of their past 15 games. The Mets have not secured a series victory since they played the effing Colorado Rockies. They have not done a single thing since then. They lose to the Tampa Bay Rays. They get curb stomped there between the Braves and the Philadelphia. And even with the Braves, they split the final 2 games. It still didn't matter. You head into Pittsburgh and you put up yet again a an absolute nothing burger, I should say. Paul Blackburn toes the rubber. Yippee! So happy about that. The Mets have a 90-minute rain delay. Surely they're not going to bring Paul Blackburn out, because what team in their right mind puts their starter back out there after said starter began the ball game and an extended rain delay happens? The Mets do this, and I understood why they did it, because this bullpen and this entire rotation is so taxed right now. We are dying to get someone to help give this team relief, but Paul Blackburn was absolutely batting practice, couldn't record one measly out after the rain delay. The bullpen was absolutely nails, a masterclass of a bullpen outing by multiple relievers that you guys can see right here, right now, to take away from this one. From Jose Budo continuing to dominate as of late, to Brandon Waddell looking fantastic there, going 3 shutty. Even Reed Garrett puts the foot down for you the best way possible, but Huascar Brosnan can't get out of his own mess. He has now walked 10 effing batters over his past 4 innings. Colin Poche making his Mets debut, and color me shocked, he's absolutely batting practice. And what happened in all the thick of this ball game, everybody? The big thing that happened that many of you guys saw was that, yes, Carlos Mendoza was in fact ejected, and Mendoza was rightfully so aggravated, pissed off by the schmuck of the umpire. Step right up and meet Helen Keller. That was who was behind home plate tonight for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And after some brutal calls, especially against Mark Vientos, we saw Carlos Mendoza had enough, and Carlos Mendoza let the umpire hear it, and I was amped up. I actually was really encouraged to see that happen. I'm like, all right, Mendy's going to bat for the boys. He's letting the umpire, long overdue. Hopefully this can get a fire under this team's ass, and is anything but. The Mets, after being horrendous a night ago with runners in scoring position going 0 for 9, the Mets followed up today the best way that they know how, and that's by going a measly 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The Mets have dropped a series against a 33-50 Pittsburgh Pirates team entering this series. I do not care what time this season that we are in. I do not care that the Mets have another half season to go this season. This is a problem. This bullpen continues to get exposed because you have no names in there on a daily basis, and then when your no names actually step up for you, you get no stability from your rotation, because everything has fallen off an effing cliff since Kodai Senga went down from injury. It has been this domino effect since then going downhill. The Mets are this big snowball that has absolutely spiraled into what is now this effing avalanche, and that is this Mets team just trying to get into the All-Star break, still being at reasonably afloat above 500 by over 10 plus games, and right in the hunt there, if not in first place, then close to first there versus the Phillies. So the Mets are just trying to find themselves in there without doing any of the extra effort that it's going to take, and that is what's driving me up a wall as a fan right now. I know the boys are putting their max effort every single night. There's no denying that, so let me make that clear before I have my overreaction in a second. But I also need to make it very known that the same Mets team that got off to a tremendous start this season, that had their rows of runners in scoring position, that had certain problems that we knew plenty, you see what has been a commonality the past 2 weeks. There is no life. There is no moxie. There is no confidence with this ball club, and the Mets on the road continue to be their absolute demise. This Mets team on the road, for whatever reason, has not been able to dig deep at all this year. They have been horrendous on road versus at home. At home, the Mets have been amongst the best, if not the best, in baseball. But on the road, they are absolute best of 500 ball club. They have not been it. They will continue to not be it until something changes. And as I told you guys yesterday, this Mets team rides through specific batters in this live, headlined by Francisco Lindor. And while Lindor was productive today and got on there with an early single and that was ultimately driven in, that we saw by the one and only Juan Soto, when Lindor doesn't do much more than that, that hurts this team. And this is not to put pressure on the shoulders of Lindor, but rather just reaffirm, whether you like it or not, this Mets offense is built heavily around their captain, heavily around Alonso, and obviously to a degree around Juan Soto. But Juan Soto can go and casually have the best month in the calendar season of a Mets player in Mets history ever, the best in team history, and yet still have a potential below 500 record in the month of June at a 12 out of 15 loss stretch, all while Soto has been performing as well as he's been. That, folks, shows you that this is not just a one-man game in baseball, but for whatever reason, folks, the Mets act like it's a one-man game when it comes to who is leading the pack. They ride through Lindor. When Lindor thrives, the team thrives. When Lindor is not thriving, when he continues his subpar play on the road, so does this Mets team collectively. And I don't know what is going to snap them out of this, because this is not just a focus on Lindor and the rest of the bats not stepping up. This is a collective issue here that we see continued in the lineup. What is it about the Pittsburgh Pirates every single effing time this team goes there? From 2021, where the roster was night and day to what it is now, to 2022, to 2023, to 2024, to 2025. Why is it that every effing season it feels like this team does not know how to play at least fundamental baseball when they're in Pittsburgh? It is always gone. It's nowhere to be seen. Until they can get this thing rectified, they're going to have themselves a continued problem. This is not okay. Anytime that you drop 12 of 15 games, that is a horrendous stretch. I don't care how the record currently stands at 48 and 36. Whoop the effing do, Basil. The Mets are 12 games above 500 when they were 21 games above 500 just 2 weeks ago. This is a problem. Something needs to change. And also the other problem is that the changes aren't necessarily all immediate, right? We're waiting for Sean Manaea, as there's positive news on that from that we're going to expand on tomorrow in content, so be on the lookout for it. There are a lot of things happening on the pitching front, but with this constant carousel of no-name relievers or, question mark relievers, as well as starters that they have to dabble into, and Blake Tidwell, who's supposed to now get the next turn in the Mets order there against the Brewers upcoming. I want nothing to do with that. Nothing against Blade, but why are we going to sacrifice an entire bullpen game when there are potential other options, either internally or externally? It just drives me up a wall, guys. We have so much to break down at our latest Mets post-game show. I apologize in advance. As you guys can see, we are all over the place today. Wardy's usually all over the place to begin with, but especially when the Mets are losing in a horrendous fashion the way that they have been, we're going to rant about it, we're going to yell about it, and we're going to be blunt and tell you what's going wrong in Mets land. So we're going to break down this ball game, ending 1 through 9, the entire ball game here in just a second, everybody, getting to all your comments, questions, and concerns as much as we possibly can. So if you guys especially have questions for your guy Wardy would like me to answer, I will do my best to do so. We got a bunch of donations that we're going to be answering here in the chat in just a second, everybody. So before we get to that, thank you guys kindly for hitting that like and subscribe on audio way for our latest New York Metropolitan post-game show. Another frustrating rant and vent session to break down as the Mets have lost yet another series here, this time to the oh-so-great, said absolutely nobody, Pittsburgh Pirates, the same Pirates team that fired Derek Shelton, their former manager, earlier this year because of how horrendous of a season that they were having, when, mind you, it's because of Nutting, their schmuck of an owner, who was one of the owners that was against Mr. Steve Cohen becoming an owner there when they had to do the vote across the board for all owners across Major League Baseball. Nutting was a schmuck, and he also is a schmuck that doesn't spend money. Yeah, you mean to tell me that absolutely watch Tommy Pham, Tommy Biceps, you mean to tell me that Mr. Cabrian Hayes with his north of 600 OPS, you mean to effing tell me that everybody and their mother in this Pirates lineup and pitching staff can just easily shut down the boys in back-to-back nights? Well, apparently they can, everybody, and the easiest way to do that is when you play the Mets that are playing the way that they are right now, folks. Shout out to our amazing sponsors here at BetUS that has you covered on the sports betting front. Bet responsibly. SeatGeek that has you covered on the ticketing front. Head over to SeatGeek, everybody, for 10% off your next ticket purchase with our promo code WARDY10 down below. And also shout out to our amazing sponsor at Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets. Hey Mets fans, if you love diving deep into the numbers like WAR or ERA, then you absolutely are going to love what today's video sponsor Moomoo brings to your investing game. Think Moneyball, but this time for your portfolio. I'm beyond excited to share that Moomoo, the proud trading platform of the New York Mets, is here to level up your investing. Moomoo is a global trading platform currently serving over 25 million users in markets like the United States, Canada, Singapore, and Japan. Whether you're just starting out or if you're a more seasoned trader, Moomoo's app and desktop platform offers commission-free trading on stocks, ETFs, and options, no contract fees either. So plus, you get premium tools, guys, whether it's going to be the institutional grade analytics, Morningstar research, and analyst ratings, all free for funded users. And right now, Moomoo is doubling down for Mets fans. Sign up through my exclusive link down below, make a qualifying deposit, and get up to, yes, 60 free stocks, plus not one but two Mets Suite tickets. Not to mention, Moomoo customers can get free tickets to all Monday home games at Citi Field, and who knows, you may even see me at a game. And with zero commissions and zero contract fees on stock and ETF options, you keep more of your wins. Are you guys ready to trade smarter? Download Moomoo now and swing for the financial fences. And shout out once more to Moomoo for being an amazing sponsor here on the platform. It's brutal for me to even have to cut away to the ad reads in times like this because I just want to rant my head off the entire time, so I apologize, but Moomoo is amazing. Check them out, guys. Link down below. KCB with a $5 haul states the following: I can say this with the utmost confidence that the only thing the Mets can hit right now when it matters is the wall. I mean, talk to me nice, KC. Thank you for the $5 holla. You're not wrong. Yoshimo with the $5 holla, great member. Sick of this shit. This team is falling apart. Feels like 2021 all over again. I wouldn't go that far. 2021 was never even an inch close to as good as this Mets team is now. The Mets team in 2021 never, ever looked as good as what they do this season, just with the roster on paper alone, not even the product of what you're getting on the field itself. So I disagree respectfully there. I do think the Mets are going to be in better standing than 2021, but I understand that there is an adamancy and urgency to get this shit figured out now. You're 100% right. Juan Diaz, great member. DFA Blackburn, DFA Poche, Wardy, we are in trouble. And here's the thing, this is the one positive. The Mets do have some answers, but they need to start to dabble with them and take some risks and take some leaps there in the minor leagues. And I need to see this Mets team do this sooner than later. We're going to expand on this more tomorrow, guys. I know the Mets have a day game tomorrow, but I also really don't give a rat's ass. I think we're going to drop the video in the AM tomorrow. Might mess up things with the algorithm a little bit, but I got to get it out for you guys because I meant to do it for today. It just didn't happen. I got a lot to say on that front, especially with the pitching, what the Mets need to do here. Externally, there's no denying that the Mets should absolutely be in the market of adding right now, but at the same time, internally, there are some guys I think that this team should still be going out of their way to at minimum consider. Yoshimo, the Chuda Hala, tired of being the laughing stock of the league. I agree with you, but again, the Mets are still 48-36. I wouldn't call them the laughing stock of baseball right now. I would just say that they've been absolutely horrendous for the past 2 weeks, and that's an understatement. KCB with the $5 holla. Can't blame the ump when after the Mets bring it to 3-2, they had one hit in the last 4 innings. The offense is number one, the problem. That and the pitching, no doubt about it. Oh yeah, today's game is not at all the umpire, outside of the fact that Carlos Mendoza had to get ejected because of how much blind bat Helen Keller behind there couldn't call a strike if it saved their life. With that exception, I'm not exactly sure if Carlos Mendoza, if he stayed in this ball game, that the Mets would have won this ball game. Because if I'm being honest with you, when Mendy got pulled from this ball game, that was a prime opportunity for this team to try to come together and to get right and get set for this ball game. And instead, it was the opposite. They got thrown off by it. If anything, I don't know if how Gebby was as the acting manager in that time there. Usually the Mets bench boss, that we know. But either way, Carlos Mendoza tried to light a fire under this team's ass, and it didn't happen. Tangus with the $2 holla. I'm sorry to worry, but this team looks cooked. Yeah, they're not looking too good right now. If you want to talk about cooked, we're looking pulled pork cooked right now. You know, falling off the bone. Not loving it, but at the same time, is it the end of the world? Yeah, no. I'm just pissed off. Rightfully pissed off. Like each and every one of you watching this team right now has been god-awful. They suck. It's okay to say this. It's okay to say that the team sucks right now while knowing that they don't overall suck. You get what I'm trying to say? It's okay to know when a team is in a horrendous run and they look like you could throw a beach ball their way and they would swing right through it, while also saying in the same breath that you still have the expectation for this team to make playoffs and hopefully have a deep run this year. Just not at all what we are seeing with this team the past 2+ weeks, and something needs to change or else we're going to have a problem, because if this Mets team just drags their feet all the way into the All-Star break, they're going to continue to free fall. They will get to the point of being below 10 games below 500. They will get to the point of looking like a team that's having a greater chance to actually hit the wild card than actually win the division this year. And that is something no Mets fan, me included, wants to see happen. But they are quickly falling in that direction, and they cannot get their heads out of their you-know-whats right now. Juliet, great member of 2 months. What do you think is the solution to the runner's scoring position problem? It's a great question, Juliet, and here's the thing. It comes down to hitting philosophy and approach. And that is where you have two people hired by the Mets under payroll year by year, Mr. Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes, who are literally paid daily for a living to fix these kind of woes for this Mets team. And while hitting coaches are not the end-all be-all, I 100% understand that, they do factor into things. And already, Francisco Alvarez, who looked tremendous that we saw in his game in Syracuse tonight, has already made hitting adjustments that we have not seen at the major league level that he is likely doing himself or working with a separate staff. You want to know what that tells me? It's further reality that maybe, just maybe, the Mets don't have the proper hires there. Maybe, just maybe, even after having the deep playoff run that the Mets had last year, they should have at minimum cut ties with one of those two coaches, knowing that those were not David Stern's hires. Maybe, just maybe, there might be something to be had if the Mets can make a decision there. And I'm not saying it'll be a night and day drastic difference, but at the same time, how much longer do you need to have your team underperform, allow this to prolong when you have primes of players just for the sake of, oh, I like our coaching staff? Miss me with that nonsense, all right? So I'm not saying to be overly reactionary, but I also don't exactly know what is going to happen either. Okay, folks, bingo, bingo, bingo. All right, guys. We have breaking news. Breaking news. I repeat, breaking news, everybody. I'm going to pull this up for you guys so you guys can see this right now. This is very important. This is really, really important, actually. Kevin came with a $5 haul. Thank you so much for that, Kevin. I'm going to screenshot your donation. I'm going to try to screenshot everyone else's here if I can, because I want to address everybody's. But we do have breaking news that we have to get into. And if you guys are watching this on replay, you may know what it's going to be already. But to our live viewers, you probably don't. So bear with me 1 second as I'm trying to take photos of all this real quick, and then we'll go on from there. Hold on, because I want to make sure I don't miss any of these comments. I know we have a lot of them. Okay, folks, here is the breaking news. This is courtesy of Mike Puma of the New York Post. Dude, thank you so much for the $10 haul. I really appreciate that. Thank you kindly for that. I'm going to get to all the other donations here in just a second, everybody. Thank you kindly for your patience. But let me pull this up for you guys. All right, folks, as you guys can see beside me, courtesy of Mike Puma of the New York Post, the Mets are holding a players meeting right now in the Mets clubhouse. Media is outside waiting for permission to enter. So yes, folks, you heard that correctly. Remember, the Mets had a vital team meeting a year ago that we saw the same night that Jorge Lopez threw the glove there that we saw over the Mets netting, and their loss at night. Jorge Lopez was cut from the team, and the Mets brought up Jose Iglesias around the time, and the rest is history. Now, the Mets don't necessarily have a Jose Iglesias to go after right now, but what they do at least have is this, and this is important. This is long overdue if you ask me. I'm actually surprised that this hasn't happened sooner. This is the first time that I'm seeing this. Luke with the $2 haul. Wardy, I'm losing my shit at this point. I don't blame you to a degree. Trust me, I'm pissed off too. No one's happy about this. And I know you guys, Mike, you're laughing about the players meeting. I know this might seem stupid to you, but these things do tend to make a difference. And I'm not saying the Mets are going to go out and win the next 5 series, but I'm telling you that good things have come out of this in the past. So it would not shock me whatsoever that happened yet again. Remember, when the Mets did this last season, it had a significant impact on their outlook going forward. That was 1,000% a fact. The players said it themselves. That was an impactful meeting, and how they had their mentality and their approach going forward. They need to get back to that mentality as last year. You know, the Mets did such a great job last season being an underdog multiple games below 500, and being an underdog allows you, if you are the Mets, to basically play with house money every single night, knowing that the odds are always constantly against you. If the Mets go back to that mentality as a collective group, I think that's going to bode them unbelievably well, because naturally the pressure and the expectation that comes with a team that's obviously got to the point of 20 plus games above 500, before you know it, you don't realize you're spiraling until you're actually 2 weeks of playing horrendous baseball, and here we are. So this Mets team absolutely should hopefully can somehow, some way take some type of takeaway, a positive, from this kind of conversation. I obviously don't know exactly what this conversation is going to be, and we find out details on how this players meeting goes later on today throughout the live show. I will relay it to each and every one of you. But yes, folks, the Mets did officially have a players meeting. They're actively having it as we speak. So let me just double check here to make sure that there's nothing else reported on that front. But I do think that is notable, everybody. Give me 1 second here. Just to make sure that there's nothing else confirmed at this very moment. That was from Mike Puma. Let's see if anything else is going to come of this. Yeah, everyone's just saying, okay, so every reporter is saying the exact same stuff. After losing 12-15 games, the Mets are having a team meeting post-game today. So, and here we go. Yep, and even SNY Mets just posted that themselves as well. The Mets are holding a players meeting in the clubhouse right now in Pittsburgh after losing the first 2 games of the series to the Pirates and after dropping 12 of their last 15. All right, guys, so if we find out any key quotes from that players meeting today, we will relay them throughout the live show before we wrap it up, because we're 20 minutes in this one and we're not going away anytime soon. I have to break down the entire ball game for you guys. I got to answer a bunch of comments, questions, and concerns that you guys got for me, and a whole lot more. So be on the lookout for that. And again, guys, if you have questions that you want your guy Wardy to answer, please continue to relay them in the chat, and I'll do my best to get to them when it is best fit here in the show. But shout out to all my live members chiming in live and replay. Thank you guys kindly for hitting that like and subscribe button as you first chime in here for the latest in Mets land, as the Mets did in fact lose tonight in a horrendous fashion by a final score of 9-2. And the breaking news, as you guys can see there, is that the Mets are currently holding a players-only meeting in hopes that that can be a little bit of a fire under their you-know-what to get them set and get them right. Mendy was being interviewed on what SNY. Good to know, PB9. Thank you kindly for that. Again, if we get any key quotes from Mendy today, then we will certainly get into that. But Mendoza said he didn't do anything crazy there. And I actually love the fact that this is, again, a players-only meeting. No coaching staff, no nothing. So this is Lindor being the leader of the pack there with guys like Alonso, with Soto, with Nimmo to a degree, I'm sure, all kind of taking place, sharing their respective disgruntlement with the performance as of late, and what they need to do to get right, because this is what championship teams do. This is what teams that know that they're in horrendous ruts need to do to try to get themselves back into their winning ways, and we'll see what happens on that front. Billy Dottie, thank you so much for the $2 holla. I appreciate that. 11 consecutive games, starters not past 5 innings. Yeah, and that's going to be a huge bugaboo, and this is twofold, everybody. We call this out from the start of the season. When the Mets had all their winning ways working right that we saw earlier this year, what was the commonality? They were still not hitting overly well with runners in scoring position. And then you said, okay, if the Mets pitching staff can continue to be dominating as much as they are right now, it'll help mask the offensive issues that this club has. The problem is, though, is that since Kodai Senga went down on the injury list 2+ weeks ago, this Mets team has been on a completely downward slide, not getting the protection from the rotation they were previously getting, not getting starters to go beyond five innings for them for 11 consecutive games, when, mind you, the starter matchups for the vast majority of them, especially when you looked at the Atlanta matchups and the Phillies matchups, they were pretty much all lopsided in talent from one side to the other. So the Mets were constantly working their backs against the wall, not having the favorable starting pitcher, and not having a starter that's going to go deep for you. And then you add in the fact that your bullpen has to get unbelievably work then going forward because you don't have any length from your starter. It's a perfect recipe for what has been the Mets' demise over the past 2+ weeks of baseball. Seamus with the $2 holla, zero heart and zero fight. I completely hear you, my man. We got Kevin King with the $5 holla. I don't care if it's a lefty starter. I don't care for Beatty at second and lefty right. I don't care. Mark off the IL to the 2-hole. You got to be kidding me. Yeah, I understand that, Kevin. I do. And Brett Beatty has been playing some great baseball as of late. No denying that. And Vientos back in the 2-hole list. And the Mets had a look of Vientos in the 2-hole not long before he went down with injury. Let's not forget that. But yeah, Mark unfortunately did not have anything going today until he had that 9th inning single with a couple out. And the Mets were already down by 8. Or down by 7 rather. So it's not like that was all that impactful. Kevin, thank you for the donation. As we continue on from here, Seamus with the dono, Care with the $5 holla. The Mets are dead in the water. We're limping into the All-Star All-Star break with not a whole lot to be proud of right now. I think that's an understatement right now, Care Bear. Thank you so much for the $5 holla. We go on from there. D-Mac with the $2 holla. Option Brosman, call up Dom Hamill. Keep the faith. The fact that we are even considering a Dom Hamill call-up right now tells you how low the bar is. Not a slight on Dom, friend of the platform. We've had him on in the past, but Dom has not been pitching consistently at all in the minors, really, since he was the Mets minor league pitcher of the year 2+ years ago. He has not been the same. Syracuse has not treated him kindly, and he has floated between being a starter and a reliever, and he's been more of a bulk reliever that we've seen as of late. So if the Mets get to the point of activating Dominic Hamill, that tells you that they literally have little to no other options that they're considering, at least for that kind of relief there, for immediate relief from the minor leagues. And yes, the Mets do have an option with Huascar Brosman, so you have to wonder if they will consider that option for the time being to get immediate pitching help, knowing how much of a glaring thorn he has been in the Mets side as of late. The Mets can send down Brazo, call him back up either right before the All-Star break or do it after the All-Star break. They can go down that route should they wish. It'd be similar to what they did with Max Kranick before they brought Kranick back up, and then obviously Max has been on the injured list since, sadly. Let's see here. Do with a $5 holla. Brosman plays on in the Dominican Winter League. It's always been the same thing. Loads of bases and gets replaced, and that's a very unfortunate thing with Brosman because he has some really, really nasty stuff as a pitcher. Like, I love Brazo's stuff, but when he's not on, he's horrendous. Like, he walks literally everybody and their mother, doing his best Adam Ottavino impression from this past season. But as we get on here, we see Frank Sessa with the $2 holla. Thank you, Frank. I appreciate that. Anthony with the $20 donation says the following: great member. Shout out to Mr. Viola. Offense definitely to blame, and Mendoza too. It's a cardinal sin to let the pitcher come back out. I don't disagree with you there. And obviously, even though that he was given the okay by Blackburn, just because you're given the okay by your player doesn't mean you should necessarily do it. And that's a hindsight 2020 thing. I could understand why Mendoza considered it. The Mets pitching is so taxed right now. The idea of losing Blackburn after just one inning of work is horrendous. And honestly, shame on the Pirates for starting this ballgame when they did. It would have been great if they just prolonged it and pushed it. Instead, they pushed it to like a normal start time, like 7:10, like what typically is for the Mets. That alone would have had the rain delay begun. So for that reason, it's a shame that the game had to start when it did, and then the rain delay happened right afterwards. But yes, I completely understand one being frustrated as a fan, while also understanding where Carlos was coming from in that very moment. Worry the Mets are doing the team meeting after this crushing loss. They are, James. We just talked about that, my man. Thank you so much. If we get key quotes from that team meeting, we'll expand on it here shortly. D-Mac, again, thank you so much for those donations earlier. All you guys, thank you kindly, folks. Like I said, we had a lot of breakdown in this one because not only was the pitching frustrating, because you had the bullpen absolutely locked and loaded and cruising up until Huascar Brosman. Between Jose Budo, Brandon Waddell, Reed Garrett, they shut down the effing door in this one. They were absolutely fantastic. Paul Blackburn has a north of 8 ERA, makes me want to throw up. Mr. Huascar Brosman couldn't get out of his own mess, and Colin Poche looks like a guy that the Mets obviously just stretched up because they don't have any other arms to consider. And this is where it gets all the more frustrating. This is how the ballgame ended for the Mets. The lineup that you guys see beside me, the Mets had 10 hits in this ballgame. They had 2 runs, and they went 8 for 10 with the runners in scoring position. No, I wish it was 8 for 10. The Mets went 2 for 10 with the runners in scoring position. So when you guys want to go ahead and talk about what we should be frustrated about most as a collective group of a fandom looking at this team, is twofold. It is without a doubt the lack of consistency because of the health of their pitching. And this is where you could put blame on David Stearns to a degree all you want. This is where David Stearns, again, dabbling with the endless guys that we have in AAA, this is where it can rear its head when you're not getting consistency there. And, maybe not considering a prospect right now that you should activate their first year of their contract, because do we really need to be stingy? We're not the Milwaukee Brewers. I think the Mets can handle, God forbid, losing a starter's first year, burning that first year of their contract if they don't maybe become the starter that you expect them to be right away. I think that is a sacrifice worth taking when you consider how bad of a hole this team currently finds themselves in. And offensively, again, the Mets had numerous multiple hit parades from guys in Alonso and Nimmo in particular, but when you look at that core group from Marte, Taylor, who's been on an absolute trend downward as of late, Tyrone, hate to see it. Brett Beatty continues to hit spree as well, but no one's here to drive them in, guys. No one. And Juan Soto having a 3K day when he was one of the only guys to drive in a run for you was also all the more frustrating. Billy Dottie with a $5 holla. Thank you, Billy. Going the second game of the Subway Series, and I'm terrified. Are we going to survive up until the trade deadline? The team is imploding on all facets. And yeah, here's what I'll say. The Mets will survive up until the trade deadline. I do think that the Mets can survive another month, even if they play bad baseball. But I don't see a world where the Mets survive playing this type of bad baseball for another month. I think if they do that, that'll be their huge demise. Then they're going to be really desperate at the trade deadline, or maybe too desperate in doing so, and just an ugly situation that you don't want to be put in if you are, in fact, the New York Mets here. Oh my God. Just very frustrating. I'm pretty pissed off right now. I have to be honest with you guys. It's hard not to be when the Mets lose in these fashions and lose the teams that they're supposed to be. You know, it's one thing if the Mets got curb stomped and lost their first 2 games to the Dodgers. It's like, okay, while it pisses me off and while I think full strength this team is as good as any, the Dodgers are the Dodgers. Okay, understood, got it. It's the fact that you just lost a series to the 34 and 50 Pittsburgh Pirates. And this is not a slight to the select few Pirates fans that come across this. But the reality of the matter of fact, the situation here, it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's the New York Mets. One team very well should be going all the way to the dance this year. But right now they're playing so bad that Mets fans are just hoping that they make sure that they make playoffs and go on from there. And that isn't as much of an exaggeration as you think. So when we take a look at the Mets right now, they are back in that final wildcard spot. They are the number 1 wildcard spot to the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Brewers have absolutely skyrocketed. You know, the Mets are just 12 games now above 500. The Brewers are 11 games above 500. The Padres, you see there, 7 or 8 games above 500 because they can't do math. The Cardinals not far behind them. And then you have the Giants, the Reds, and the Diamondbacks. That is the current playoff outlook, everybody. And I don't know about you, but I sure as hell do not want to be in a position where I'm grinding it out until the very end of the season to try to crack a playoff spot. Now, while that might bode well for a team having momentum into postseason play, the same can be said for a team that still has their first round bye winning the division because they have the utmost confidence that they are truly as dominant as they are. And the Dodgers were a fantastic example of exactly that last year, even after faltering initially in their series against the Padres, for them to rally back the way that they did and overcome San Diego, where many believe were the best team out of the National League outside of a team like the New York Mets. It just goes to show, again, how much it takes to finally get into that position. And for the Dodgers, you know, they were able to finally rewrite the script of this wild card format. And I do not want to see the Mets have to try to take the risk of being in that wild card spot, having that early matchup, and then going on from there. I would love to see this team get the bye this season, but there isn't a chance at how they're going to get there, and they continue to play at all similarly to how they're performing right now, because it is nothing short of absolutely horrendous, and it's been pathetic. Emerson, great member, happy to have you in here. Sleepy, dumpster diving Stearns, this man has the biggest superpower in Steve Cohen's checkbook and doesn't get any good pitching whatsoever, only gamble signings, relying too much in the lab. I don't completely disagree with what you're saying, but I also know that what this trade deadline will be will indicate an absolute a lot. And we do have some key quotes, everybody, from Mike Puma right now that I do want to share, so I apologize. We will break down this ball game shortly. I know you guys are not chomping on the bit to hear about how the Mets lost this one 9-2 today, but again, Carlos Mendoza gets ejected. The Mets don't hit a lick with runners in scoring position, and the bullpen, after starting off strong after Blackburn getting rocked after the rain delay, we would see, unfortunately, the bullpen get rocked again towards the end of this ball game. But as you guys can see here again from Mike Puma here on the New York Post, everybody, Puma states the following. Nemo says 6 or 7 players spoke during the meeting, including Lindor and Alonso. Now let's see if we can get any other key quotes outside of just that from a guy like Puma. Let's go to Como here. And let's see if Mr. Anthony has anything for us that we can share and relay to each and every one of you right now. Let's see here, everybody. Nothing from Anthony. Literally nothing at all, really? He hasn't even tweeted today. All right, shame on me, I guess. God forbid the Mets reporter was covering the Mets on the day the Mets play. Okay, now let's get on to Will Salmon, because I know Will was on top of this as well. Let's check this real quick. Yeah, nothing else. Once we find out more, if we do find out any key quotes from how that entire exchange went with the players' meeting, guys, I will certainly relay to you. But from the time of when Puma first tweeted it to now, that should give us an idea of how long this conversation was too, right? Because we've been live for a half hour at this point, if you guys are watching live. 16 minutes ago, Puma tweeted about it. So a roughly 20-minute conversation is what it appears to be for that Mets clubhouse meeting. We'll see, obviously, how it goes and what is the immediate reaction for the players going forward beginning tomorrow. And yes, Sanders, to call this a June swoon for the Mets is an understatement. Steve Long with a $5 holla. Love you, Steve. Brazzo's really fallen off in 6 appearances, 5.2 innings, 10 walks, 11 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. They need tons of bullpen help, even though the offense needs to step up. I 100% agree. And thankfully, guys like Daniel Nunez are starting to blossom now, which is fantastic to see, but at the same time, they need more stability and they need more depth out of that versus what they currently have. The depth that the Mets currently have is not enough to be sustainable throughout the course of the season. They will have to add externally. They will consider some other guys on the farm. They will be having guys get back from injury. All these things need to happen because right now, guys, as I told you all plenty, this has just been truly a perfect storm for what's been bad baseball for this Mets team. Why is the players only meeting being made public? This is all for show. Big Frank, I'm here to tell you it's a farthest thing all for show. If you really believe that, then you're the same fan that firmly believe that the Mets stood no chance from getting out of 11 games below 500. Just to make that clear, guys. So the Mets got out of that 11 game below 500 rut last year, in part, not just because of playing Lindor in leadoff, but because of the Jorge Lopez game where he threw the glove, they had their closed door players meeting, and that was that. These things do have an impact, and they become public because when you are in New York with arguably the largest payroll in baseball outside of the Dodgers, and have the spotlight on you constantly. Wow, color me shocked. This becomes public. Do you guys really think there would be a chance in hell that the media that is required and on salary to wait to speak to the players after a baseball game leaked this just for it to be a facade, for it to be for the sake of showing that they're trying to put an effort in when they were just twiddling their thumbs and dicking around in the clubhouse meeting? Farthest thing from the truth. Farthest thing from the truth. That's just such a nonsensical comment. Like, just think a little harder. I promise you'll get there. Zach Flakerton, how we doing? Why does this team always need a multi-week stretch of being the worst team in baseball? It's a great question, Zach. And if I had the answer and solution, I feel like I'd be coaching the Mets right now. So that's what I got for you. I wish I had something more there. I really do. It's this dark cloud that looms over the Mets throughout a quarter of every year. And granted, every team goes through it. It's easy for us to biasly say this as a fan while, disregarding when it happens to every other ball club. But there is no denying that the Mets do go through ruts like this. But this rut is horrendous. Like, this rut is so down bad right now that we'll take anything. We will literally take anything. The Mets don't need to win sexy. They just need to win ball games. So because we don't need to be sold right now on how the Mets, need to play a certain way. We all know the way that the Mets need to play to be more consistent and have more success. But we also know that this team just needs to get back in the effing win column consistently and then go on from there. Get back in your winning ways, starting hopefully tomorrow. Take the series finale and then go on from there. Because if you get swept by the Pittsburgh effing Pirates in Pittsburgh, I'm not only going to be screaming my head off to the thousands of you guys tomorrow, which I'm not looking forward to, but then we're going to have a serious sit-down conversation about what change needs to be had, and that is where we're really going to start to be putting more of the foot down on. There needs to either be a coaching change, there needs to be something done with the roster itself. Something needs to happen, because what has been happening so far is not getting the job done. And Thor, I know you can relate, and most of you guys can relate. I think a big part of the reason why we built such a platform over the past 4 years is the fact that thousands of you guys can relate more to me when I'm miserable and pissed off, because I just sound like a typical Mets fan, versus when I'm more the optimistic type. That's where you guys get a little deterred, because you're like, Wardy, pump the brakes, buddy. Listen, I understand this pickup was nice, but the guy had a 5-year last year, so what the hell are you talking about? Like, I completely understand those reactions, but a lot of you guys are saying, I miss kind of mad Wardy, I miss emotional Wardy. I wasn't able to show those emotions too much so far this season because the Mets haven't really given me a reason to. When the Mets played as good as they did while not playing as good as they did at the same time, the first 2 months, it was easy for those woes to be masked and to just be in the cruise, which is a summer, the Mets playing good baseball. But now here we enter the June swoon, month of June, and this Mets team is absolutely nowhere to be seen on the consistency front. Far from it. They look absolutely horrendous right now. So guys, without further ado, let's get into breaking this one down. And like I said, if I get any key quotes from the meeting, I will definitely relay to you guys what exactly they were. And I know you guys are talking about Nimmo right now. We love ourselves some Brandon, but now let's get into breaking down this Metropolitan loss defeat and why Carlson Mendoza was rightfully so screaming his head off the way that us Mets fans really feel like we want to scream our head off right now. And it begins here in the first inning, everybody, that we saw there between the Mets and the Pittsburgh Pirates. And mind you, towing the rubber for Pittsburgh tonight was Mr. Bailey Falter, who only won 1.2 innings because of the rain delay, but then leave it to guys like Dennis effing Santana, former New York Met reliever, to go roughly 2 shutty against his team. Leave it to Caleb Ferguson, the former Yankee reliever, to go 2 shutty against his team. Leave it to David Bednar, the trade target for the Mets leading up to the deadline, who I like a lot as a reliever option. He's been looking fantastic. He has not allowed a run now, I think his last 14 outings or so. He dominated against this Mets team. Ashcraft even dominated against this Mets team. Again, everybody and their mother on the pitching end, for the most part, outside of Falter to begin this ball game, didn't falter. They did exactly what they needed to do. And mind you, Lindor started this ball game the best way that he knows how, because if it ain't going to be a leadoff Lindor bomb for a leadoff liftoff, leadoff, Lindor liftoff, the triple L's. It's going to be a Lindor double for his 15th of the season, everybody. Lindor with his 15th double that has a runner in scoring position right away. Mark Vientos, who got the start today in the 2-hole. What does Mark Vientos do? He grounds out right away. Then we see Juan Soto 1-on-1 away, and he drives him in. He pulls a single to the right side, and it gets through this time. Juan Soto gives the Mets the early 1-0 lead, but it wouldn't last all that long. After Alonso's single, Nimmo lines out, and then after Alonso steals second base for his first stolen bag of the year, Marte struck out Sweeney, and that did it for the inning. Mind you, Marte got the start at DH today. That wasn't abundantly clear by now. And the bottom of that same inning, Paul Blackburn strikes out Adam Frazier in his second turn now with the Pirates, because Frazier was back with the Pirates a couple years ago too, but he's bounced from the Orioles, the Royals, and the Mariners, and the Padres. I'm pretty confident that those are the 4 teams he's been on otherwise. Andrew McCutchen got on with a single, so 1-out single for Kutch. Then we see Reynolds strike out, and then a ground out there for Nick Gonzalez, and that does it there for the inning, everybody. In the top of the second, we see with 2 outs, Luis Torrens gets the offensive party started this inning with a single. 1 on, 2 away for Francisco Lindor. Back to the top of the order. And Lindor, who got on, mind you, with the double to begin this ball game, got on with a walk. So it wasn't for a lack of effort early on by Lindor, but unfortunately, him not doing more than what he did today really kind of stung. It definitely was frustrating. Lindor being interviewed by SNY, had the sound down on these. Happy to hear that. I will share some of those interviews with you guys once we get a chance to do so, once they're clipped here on socials, if not actually posted by their channel itself. Actually, we have a Lindor quote right now, so after I break down this ball game of rapid fire, guys, we'll get to the Lindor quotes to share for you guys. So not a problem. We're going to get into it. No, we're not playing the jingle today. Don't even ask for it. Don't rehash this shit show, I know. I'm going to rapid fire it. I only got to do it because there are people that haven't watched the game that genuinely want to know. So I'll be fast with this for you guys, I promise. Ray, ready for the Wardy speed run? Here we go. Bottom of the second, O'Neal Cruz with a single. He steals his 27th bag of the year. What an absolute speed demon. Bring him on the Mets. Then we see Joey Bart there with a single that ties at 1-1. Joey Bart, the former top catching prospect of the San Francisco Giants, has been a decent catcher there for the Giants. He ties at 1-1. And mind you, Paul Blackburn comes in this ball game after not pitching for 90 effing minutes because Carlos Mendoza says, we need the pitching, we need the length, and Blackburn says, I feel fine. Let's just go ahead and do it. Problem is while he felt fine, he looked far from fine in this outing. We would see a 1-1 ball game. Spencer Horwitz then with a single. After that, it's a Cabrian Hayes single, because even though Cabrian Hayes has been absolutely horrendous with his bat pretty much most of his young career, he has to be batting practice here against this Mets team. Heading for batting practice is what it felt like, as he made it 2-1. Then Isaiah Kyer Falefa, IKF makes it, gets on with a single. Then Adam Frazier with a sac fly makes it 3-1, because of course he does. Andrew McCutchen then reaches. Then we see nothing else happen for that inning, but that's after Jose Butto came in and after it became 3-1. So Paul Blackburn entering this ball game after a 90-minute rain delay, doesn't record one effing out, and he ends today with a final line that you guys see right here of horrendous baseball. 1 inning of 6 hit, 3 earned runs, 0 walk, 2 strikeouts. I understood that it's not too much Blackburn's fault, but at the same time, if he gave Mendoza the okay, you need to go out and perform, and you need to go out and get strikes. So right now, he didn't do any of that. He was not able to do that, and that is a big problem. I won't be watching any games until we get our shit together. Wardy can keep me up to date. There you go, Trent. I know a lot of you guys do that as well when you don't want to watch the Mets. I envy you. I envy you guys for getting a chance to kind of turn the Mets off for, a week or two when they don't play well. I don't know what that's like, because I can never tune out this Mets team, not only because of my fandom, but because we cover them every day for a living. So the show must go on, if you will. As we get on here, everybody, in the top of the third, Soto with a strikeout, Alonso out, Nimmo with a single, Marte with a single, so 2 on, 2 away, and Tyrone Taylor grounds out. In the bottom of that same inning, we would see O'Neal Cruz with a walk, Joey Bart with a single, and then that's all she wrote, thankfully. A nice clean inning of work there afterwards for Jose Butto. Then we see on the top of the fourth, Brett Beatty with an opposite field double, his 7th of the season and his 3rd over the past 24 hours, but Torrens would reach on fielder's choices. Beatty would actually be out, running to third base as it was a perfect ground ball right in the lane of where IKF was going, or Cabrian Hayes rather, to tag Beatty. Couldn't get away from it. Beatty missed both hands, unfortunately, trying to get the tag on base. Didn't happen. He was out, and that was the force out. Nothing else happens that inning, because of course it doesn't. And the bottom of the fourth inning, everybody, we see 1, 2, 3 there for this Mets team on the offensive end. Carlos Mendoza was thrown out after IKF grounded out because, again, horrendous calls by this umpire. Again, Helen Keller, blind bat. Where's the walking stick? Needs something there, and that does it for the inning. As we then get to the top of the fifth, everybody, Juan Soto with a ground out. Pete Alonso with his 24th double of the year, and he'd be driven in by Brandon Nimmo as Nimmo goes ripping one to the right side for his nice RBI here. Brandon Nimmo has really been swinging the bat better as of late for this Mets team. Nimmo, for those that don't know, who recorded his 43rd RBI of the season today, is up to a 255 average and a 770 OPS on the season. Not great, but also better than what it was previously this season. Nimmo with the single there, and that's all she wrote for the inning after Dennis Santana came in and got quick back-to-back outs on Marte and Tyrone Taylor, both via strikeout. And the bottom of the fifth inning, everybody, Reynolds with a flyout, Nick Gonzalez with a single, and then back-to-back strikeouts there on O'Neal Cruz and Joey Bart. In the sixth inning, guys, Brett Beatty with a walk, and that's all she wrote for the inning. The bottom of the sixth, a 1-2-3 for the Pirates. Top of the seventh, the Mets went down in order because, of course, he did against Ferguson. Bottom of the seventh, we see Reed Garrett have a 1-2-3. Shot of the bullpen, again, absolutely nails from not only what we saw there and Mr. Jose Budo, but Brendan Waddell went 3 shutty. Reed Garrett was fantastic, but Brendan Waddell was the key standout on the pitching end today. No doubt about it. So good. Really, I can't tell you guys how impressed I was with Waddell today. An absolute shame that the Mets wasted that pitching masterclass. Marte all but a walk, but that's all she wrote in the eighth inning. Bottom of the eighth, Huascar Brosman can't get a single out for the most part. Nick Gonzalez with a single. O'Neal Cruz strikeout. A Joey Bart walk. And then here comes the pinch hitter, Mr. Henry Davis would come in for Joey Bart. And Spencer Horwitz, then we would see get it on with a walk. Brian Hayes with a single, and that would make a 4-2 there, Pittsburgh Pirates. And then we would see Colin Poche come in, and Poche allows a ground out, and that scores a run to make a 5-2 Pirates right away. Then Alexander Canario, Mets legend, gets on with a walk, and then Andrew McCutchen with a single makes it 7-2. Brian Reynolds makes it 9-2 with the double. Again, you knew it was going to be cooked when Poche came in this ball game. If you didn't know already, that's all she wrote. Then, folks, we would see the Mets go down order, almost go down order. Vientos had a 2-out single, and then Juan Soto strike out for his 3rd strikeout of the ball game. Horrendous approach to runners in scoring position. Like I mentioned, the Mets go on to lose this one by a final score here of 9-2. Guys, without further ado, let's get on now to the quotes and the remarks from Francisco Lindor today, because I do think that those are important to hear what Mr. Smile has to say, because there's nothing to smile about with the way that this Mets team is playing as of late. Nothing at all. Let's start with Brandon Nimmo, everybody. Listen up. Oh, my apologies, everybody. Of course, I'm trying to play the audio, and it's not going through the way that's supposed to. 1 second. Yeah, all the interviews that you guys have seen with SNY, I'm going to play them right here. So don't you guys worry. You're not going to miss a thing. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe on your way in. Help us get to 34,000 subscribers for our next short-term goal. We're just a couple hundred subs away because we're giving away a Mets jersey to one lucky subscriber here on the platform. And all you guys got to do to enter is subscribe and chime into our future live content. It is that easy, everybody. And check out our Wardy Day. That'll be happening August 1st at Citi Field against the Giants. You can hang out with your guy Wardy. Yes, you heard that correctly. We're actually going to hang out together at Citi Field with all of the people that go out of their way, obviously, to take part in acquiring some tickets. Many of you guys have so far. Thank you kindly for that. For those that have interest, check it out down below in the description by heading over to Wardy Day tickets here, guys. And thank you so much for that. I cannot wait. Hopefully the Mets have turned things around by then and had an electric MLB trade deadline that we'll talk about the day prior all day long, because the day prior is the MLB trade deadline, and the game itself on August 1st is fireworks night at Citi Field that Friday. Should be fun.
Brandon, why did now feel like the time for you guys as players to meet?
I mean, we're not playing well, but we've won a couple games, but we haven't been able to put it together. So, just put things out there, talk about it as a team, and move on. But it just felt like, we weren't really putting it together. So, we ended up calling the team meeting.
What was the overall message?
We won't get into the details of it, but we're just going to pick each other up and stay behind each other, we're gonna fight through this. So we're gonna do it as a team.
Did you speak in the meeting?
No, I did not.
Francisco.
Yep, Francisco, Pete. There was probably 6 or 7 guys that ended up speaking up, so it was good. It was more of kind of like a, let's just have a community talk about it. It wasn't necessarily, wasn't necessarily like one guy saying, hey, you need to do this or do that. It was more just a community talk and getting things out there. It was good. It's good. We'll see. We'll see what, if it works or not.
Did you
Feel at all similar to the meeting you guys had last year, or was it a different tone?
No, it was similar because I feel like that meeting last year was an open floor too. So I feel like it's similar, and it's similar to other meetings I've had as well. I mean, this is not the first season that I've gone through a time like this. So, in fact, I think I've been here long enough to have seen a June like this, maybe even worse. So, it definitely felt, good, productive, and I think we'll look to build on that, one step at a time. It's not going to be fixed overnight. I'd love it if it was, but it's not going to be fixed overnight.
The meeting, how did it come about today?
We, after the game, we all sat here and it just happened. We were collectively as a group, we decided to start talking to each other, and that's what good teams do. We all rely on each other. We all bounce ideas from each other, and it was just a team thing.
What was the main takeaway?
That everybody's pulling for each other, and there is a sense of urgency, and everybody loves each other, and everybody's on the same page.
Last year,
We're taught to keep things inside.
Brandon talked about how it was just good to have guys have an open forum to get stuff out, similar to last year. When it gets to this point, can it just be almost a release of tension that maybe has subtly built up over the weeks?
It's very interesting because we are in a position where we're taught to keep things inside. And also when you start seeing guys talking, we all go through the same thing. It seems like we're all going through the same thing at the same time. So why not talk about it? And it's good. It's a good group of guys talked, and to your point, it makes you not feel alone. It makes you feel like you are playing a team sport. Winning. At the end of the day, it's all about winning. And this is not rah-rah. This is not like, it's just now this season is going to turn around. We are competing still. We are one game or a game and a half, or first place. And we are in the top in the wild card. This is not like a magic thing. There's nothing to do with that. Nobody's hoping for that. This is not how it works. If that's how it worked, we would have done it probably a while ago. But it's just part of the adversity that we're dealing with, and just like I said, it's good to look each other in the eye and just understand that we're all going through it at the same time, and this is a team sport. Nothing but.
What was the message you were trying to get across in the meeting today?
I know. I'd rather leave that for the boys in the room. I thought it was a productive gathering, and I'll leave it at that.
Pete, what was has been just overall the biggest change during this recent downturn compared to the way you guys were playing early in the season?
You know what? I think I think it's obvious we're not playing our best baseball. I think it just collective, like as a group, whether offensively, defensively, base running, like we're not playing our cleanest baseball. We're not playing to our maximum potential right now, and it shows with the record, and we're definitely not playing consistent. We're playing good games. We're staying in games. I think we need to do a better job finishing for sure. Playing a complete 9 innings, and overall just playing our most clean baseball on a consistent basis. I mean that was our identity. We did a great job. That was our identity, first while there, when things were excellent. But yeah, we've gotten away from playing our cleanest baseball for sure.
All right, guys. So what we were all hearing was pretty much exactly what you'd expect to hear. I like that they're obviously keeping it, to the chest as to what exactly they talked about. And what that basically means is that, any type of, specific players that they broke down about their own personal struggles or about collective struggles in general, they don't want any of that to be voiced in the media. That's the last thing they want. And obviously the media is chomping and salivating at the mouth at the idea of getting as many quotes as they can, but that isn't going to happen because that defeats the purpose of what the conversation is. They're just relaying, obviously, that was a productive conversation in similarity to last year, as Nimmo emphasized. And I actually like the fact that that question was asked on, was the tone the same or was it different? Because I think that's important, right? Because the tone that the Mets had in their conversation when they had this meeting, right around the same time or so last year, maybe a couple weeks prior last year, point still is that the Mets have been through this rodeo before. This is not their first time doing this, at least with a lot of the guys in the core group here. And that's why I do not think it's sky falling, but I absolutely know that this is a problem. And we all know it's a problem. That's why you're causing your guy Wardy to rant his head off on an almost nightly basis north of the past 2 weeks when I don't want to do any of that. Just because of the fact that this team has been so far from where they're supposed to be as a collective group right now. They just have nothing clicking whatsoever. And we all know why they aren't clicking too. I think that's another great frustration level that not only myself as a fan has, but I'm sure a lot of you guys, you fellow fans watching this live and replay, do as well. And it's the fact that when you are witnessing a ball club make the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over again, you see these things from a mile away, and yet the club itself still finds themselves falling in that category where they're continued losing ways. It's interesting. But Juan Soto was among those who spoke during the players-only meeting. And Soto's message, keep going, believe in it, is what he had to say. So I don't know who Puma got it from. He just posted that on X. But Juan Soto's quote is, keep going, believe in it. That's actually a good quote. I'm going to send that to my buddy real quick so he could do something with it. But all right, guys, so there you go. Juan Soto did, in fact, partake in it. I don't know exactly all the things that were said by him. But again, these are just not things that are going to come out publicly, and understandably so. Anyone that thinks that it's going to be that way is not going to happen. Quote, stop sucking. Pretty much. That would be ideal. Isn't it funny how they suddenly stop ragging on the pitching lab? Yeah, it's easy to stop ragging about a pitching lab when the pitching has been your demise in part of the past 2 weeks. Or at least it hasn't really helped at all either. But I think the context behind the pitching going down is important too. And that's something that might be easy for yourself to disregard, but let me enlighten you. This Mets pitching staff is struggling in large part because of their injuries. And to push that aside as if it doesn't exist, but then talk down the lab, I think is kind of, a silly, closed-minded reaction to have. Because if Kodai Senga was healthy right now, if Tyler McGill never went down, the Mets pitching depth would be through the roof, meaning that would naturally lead to more length, which would mean to less bullpen taxing, which would mean less bullpen carousel that the Mets have done the past north of 2 weeks. Do I think the Mets would have won every single game? No. Do I think the Mets would have, maybe won no more than a couple more games? I'm not sure. But to suggest that, in the case of the lab that, no one's talking about anymore, well, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah, color me surprised. When your ace of a pitcher goes down with injury on the injured list, when you have multiple key pitchers go down with injury, what do you think's going to happen? You think it's going to be all sunshines and rainbows? No, it's called the 162, pal. And that means that you're going to win games, or you're going to lose games. And right now, the Mets are losing a lot. And that's not good. Wardy, when's your next live caller session? That's a great question, Emerson. I'm glad that you asked. We will be doing them next week. And as a matter of fact, we might be doing live callers for a call-in session for just our members on Monday, because we're doing a member Q&A session first and foremost. So if you guys don't know that, we're doing a members Q&A, so be on the lookout for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. That'll be happening in the evening on Monday, probably 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern. And then I promise you guys, one of the games that we cover next week, we will be doing a live caller show as well as a watch party, because we do have a playback watch party that we have to do. Because beyond that, your guy Wardy will be attending next Saturday's game, which will be there at Yankee Stadium, at Citi Field, between the Mets and the Yankees. So I'll be there for that Saturday, July 5th game. So if you want to pencil in a loss now, go ahead and do it. Frankie Montas and Marcus Stroman are scheduled to pitch, and I'm just expecting to rant my head off on what's going to be a disaster. I'm going with my guy, Pat, that you guys know, the Yankees fan, Pat. I'll be going with my guy, Richie, as well, from Jets and Knicks Media. That'll be a lot of fun, but that's what I got to say about that. Let's see. My damn seat keeps dropping on me at random times. I hate when it does that. Very true, Wardy. There is a bit of an overreaction. Oh, and I fall in that category all the time. You know, I fall in both positive and negative overreaction. 100%. If a player plays good for like 2 weeks, I'm thinking in my head, they're locked in. Like they're gonna be cruising like that most of the season. At least that's what the optimistic point of view wants me to think. And I constantly have this battle from being a fan to being a talking head and a creator, where, you know, I kind of have the devil and the angel on your shoulder, because on one hand, you get all the optimism to see yourself, oh yeah, the boys going to be cruising up, you're so happy, talk about, oh, how the boys are like the best in baseball, all the stuff, all the stuff, and then you have all the pessimism kick in, and then you have the reality that sets in, which is also when things are not going right, and trying to balance the fan point of view while having a rational point of view can be difficult when your team has played as bad as they have over the past 2 weeks now. And that there's nothing wrong with that. GTB says Yankees lost 7-0 to the A's today. So both teams have been spiraling for sure. Both the Mets and the Yankees have not played good baseball consistently at all the past 2+ weeks. You have to realize, though, that every team has injuries. Look at the Dodgers, and 100%. But the difference between the Dodgers and your other team is that the Dodgers purposely sign and trade for players that are max effort players, especially on the pitching end, meaning that that's why the Dodgers have had more pitching injuries than any other team in Major League Baseball for the past number of years. So that's one in direct hand, because they get a lot of guys that are so heavy on the crazy velocity, but they have way too much going on with their shoulder or elbow movement, and then bam, they go on down with Tommy John. But what the Dodgers do brilliantly, and that's better than most, if not all, in baseball, is their depth. And the Dodgers have built tremendous depth, not only thanks to great scouting and developing over the years, but it's also a cultivation of that, along with being the big bad LA Dodgers and being a hot commodity of a destination, being a hot destination for teams and players to want to go to, rather. So when you have a destination as desirable as the LA Dodgers currently, you have a lot of players that are willing to sign more in-depth roles, whereas they would be more everyday players on other clubs. That's another thing to bear in mind. That's how the Dodgers constantly churn out their victories, even when, say, half the injuries are there. It really sucks. Let's see. Pitcher injuries, I think back to Wardy's episode. Yep, Wardy MLB. And we'll be doing more Wardy MLB content this week, everybody, upcoming. So be on the lookout for that. I have some really fun MLB-wide topics that we'll be getting into that I think you guys will find yourself enjoying on Wardy MLB, along with all of our Bleacher Report coverage, because we will still be doing coverage here in the BR app every single week, even though that it will be, the structure for Bleacher Report actually will be changing, everybody. For those that have been watching the live segments in BR, they will be happening, but they won't be as consistently as BR. We're going to be shifting more into transitioning from just live streams to also doing live streams and a lot of short content. So don't be surprised if when you're in the BR app, you may see Wardy in more of a short form format talking about various MLB-wide topics, among other things. So be on the lookout for that in BR, as well as actually, I have a segment I just realized. I'm glad I just reminded myself. Tomorrow, I'm recording right around 6:40, I think, with my guy Dexter Henry in the New York Post. We will have a New York Post Sports segment coming out on YouTube and on all audio platforms, probably for them, that you guys can check out, that we'll be recording later tomorrow after the Mets have their series finale against the Pirates. So be on the lookout for that, everybody. And one final thing that I have to say for each and every one of you before your guy Wardy pretty much wraps it up and gets out of here for LA's post-game segment, and that is this.
It's Wardy here, and as you can see, we are at gorgeous Citi Field, and folks, you can get the ultimate, the prime experience with your guy Wardy at our first ever official Wardy Day. August 1st, Mets, San Francisco Giants there for the evening game. The day after the MLB trade deadline, you, your friends, your loved ones, select Mets fans will get the ultimate experience with your guy Wardy. Not only are we going to hang out at the ball game together, but folks, look at this seating. We're going to be live here in the left field lounge. You guys will be able to chop it up with your guy Wardy. We're going to be debating as to who's the best pitcher of the rotation outside of Kodai Senga. We're going to be talking about who's the next best prospect to get called up. How do we feel about the trade deadline acquisitions? And guys, as you get back up here then, we are going to be giving you a $18 drink voucher, and with that drink voucher, you guys are going to be able to hit up the bars that we have right outside of here. So easy, so accessible. Again, prime seating, a truly fantastic experience. Our first ever Wardy Day here at Citi Field, guys, where you will get a chance to hang out with your guy Wardy. And the best part too, not only is it this amazing lounge in left field that you guys will hang out with me, but we're going to be on the field pregame access there for a group photo op. So I hope to see you, all you amazing Mets fans there. Click the link if you guys haven't already there to check out our available tickets, and let's go Mets. And not only are we going to be sitting here throughout the course of the ball game, you guys can also check out the seats that we have access to all here in the bar area here, right at the Milagro, where you guys can utilize your $18 drink voucher. Again, this is going to be at Wardy Day, August 1st, 2025. Oh wait, yeah, almost forgot. It's also fireworks night. Bang! Hope to see you guys there.
Yes, I meant to say that earlier. Rest in peace to Dave Parker. Thank you guys for relaying that in the chat as well. I'm really glad that you did. Absolute legend. Very, very sorry to see that news today as well. I looked at SeatGeek to take a cruise to Wardy Day, which works, but not for getting home. Gotcha. I looked at, I'm sorry. I looked at C-Streak to take a cruise to Wardy Day, which works, but not for getting home. That is correct. It won't help you with getting home. That's the only downside. One thing that I did want to say, which I thought was funny in the chat, JTB said, sad Wardy and happy pumped up Wardy. Absolutely. That was me right now. Sad while pumped up Wardy right there. One thing to say as well is Bobby G says, I don't drink. Can I get a food voucher? Bobby G, if you actually attend Wardy Day, I will, out of my own pocket, cover your food, as long as it's to the same extent as the drink voucher. I think that's fair. So like pretty much $18 drink voucher is the equivalent of getting like a normal meal, whatever you're going to get there at Citi Field. You have my word, because there's no reason for me to lie about it. If you show up, tell me you're Bobby G, prove you're Bobby G at Wardy Day on August 1st, I will happily cover your food. Not a problem. Just from me, just because of the fact that you said that you don't drink. Not an issue. Because I know that you've been a long-time follower as well. Oh, you said you're only joking? Oh, well then in that case, never mind. I was trying to be sweet and you ruined it. You ruined it, Bobby. I was being such a nice guy. Hate to see it. All jokes aside, though, guys, that is going to do it for our latest post-game show. Bobby, I wouldn't let you not let me, so that's what would happen. You can get a voucher that includes food, drink. You can, Josh, but here's the thing. With the deal that I made with the Mets specifically, it's solely just drink vouchers, because it's not as easy as you think to get vouchers for all these different areas while trying to get a discounted deal for you guys, while trying to get the other perks with the on-field access pregame. We're going to probably do a live show in that section, among other things. So, again, it's going to be absolutely electric, guys. Sadly, the Mets are far from electric right now, and they need to get back in the win column. So be on the lookout, guys. Tomorrow, we will have at least one video dropping, even if it's in the AM with it being a day game tomorrow. I might just break that barrier and say I don't care about the algo because it needs to get out there. There's a lot of topics that we have to talk about over this next calendar week, and we only have so much time to do so. And the Mets losing ways is kind of throwing a wrench into it to a degree as well. But folks, that is going to do it. Thank you again so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And DNL, thank you so much for the kind words too. I appreciate that, my guy. But that's going to do it for our latest post-game segment presented by our amazing friends and sponsors here at BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. SeatGeek, if you guys want 10% off your next ticket purchase, why are you wasting any more time? However, SeatGeek down below and a link in the description. Wardy10 for 10% off your next ticket purchase. Shout out as well to Mumu, the official trading platform of the New York Mets. Make sure to check them out today if you guys haven't already, as well as all of our other amazing sponsors at Mando, at In the Cloud, at Foom, and much more that are coming. Thanks to all you amazing Mets fans. Guys, that's going to do it for your guy, Wardy. I'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, have a fantastic rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. And one final thing, big UFC card tonight. If you guys are mixed martial arts fans, fight fans out there, lock in. Big card tonight. So happy. Other than the fact that I'm sad that I saw that one of the main fights on the main card that I was looking forward to, and Paulo Costa is not happening. Big fight though. Elliot Saporia, Charles Oliveira, Dubronx for the main fight. You have there Kai facing off there against Pantoja. Big fight as well. A lot to like. I'm very excited for tonight's UFC fight. You guys have a great one. Love you guys. Mwah. Let's go Mets.